Hello friends, how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. In today's video, I wanted to do a video that I did about a year and a half ago again, where I basically talk about if I could only keep one palette from every brand that I own, which palette would I keep? I feel like this is also combination favorite palette from each brand because I'm pretty sure all of these are also my favorite palette from each brand because I'm probably gonna keep my favorite palette. Let's be real. So yeah, I'm really excited about doing this video again. I figured it'd be a good time to just kind of refresh this video. A lot of things have come out since then. I've tried new brands since then, and I also did my makeup collection and declutter series at the end of last year, so all of these are very fresh, and it's very curated, and it's wonderful, and I'm very excited to get into it. If you're into this video, I can totally do the opposite version, where instead of talking about if I could only keep one palette from each brand, I can talk about which palette I would declutter from each brand, which would be really hard because I did already do my declutter series, so I'd be decluttering out of the ones that I'm keeping. So let me know if you want to see that. I think that would be fun too. Before we get into the video, I did of course film this look. It should already be up exclusively on my TikTok by the time this video goes up. And let me just give you my accessory details. My choker today is from Shop Sun & Co. You can use my affiliate code battybean for 10% off. My plugs today are Love Kills Boutique. I got these rings at random boutiques in Soho when I visited New York City. And this sweater is amazing. It's from Not Your Average Babe. You can use my affiliate code battybean on their site to save 10% as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in and chat about if I could only keep one palette from each brand, which one would I keep? All right, I have a big pile in front of me. I just have these organized in alphabetical order by brand. If I only own one palette from a specific brand, I'm not including it in this video. I'm only including palettes that I have at least two of because that's just what makes sense, because obviously if I only have one, that's the one I'm gonna keep. So these are only brands that I have multiple things from. All right, kicking it off, Ace Beauté. I have a lot of Ace Beauté palettes, and the one that I would absolutely keep and my favorite one from them is the Tropical Vibes palette. I've done multiple videos with all of these palettes. You can just search my channel, you can check out my Instagram. I've done so many looks with all of these. I love this one. Look at how beautiful it is. These different murky greens. I love these swampy tones. The shimmer formula is beautiful, and this is their newly revamped formula. I personally didn't have a problem with their original formula, but the new formula is really nice as well. I love this palette. This is 100% the one that I would keep if I could only keep one. Moving on to Alter Ego, this is going to be my Goddess palette. I love the Goddess palette. It's the first palette I ever tried from them, I believe, and I'm just obsessed with it. The shimmers are so good, the mattes are amazing. It is just kind of your run-of-the-mill neutrals with pops of blue, but they're such special neutrals. The shimmers are so shifty. I feel so glamorous when I wear this palette, and to be honest, I'm not keeping a whole lot of neutrals out of the palettes I'm gonna talk about today, so I feel like in this scenario, if I was only keeping one, this would be a good one to have, not only because it's my favorite one from Alter Ego, but because I feel like it would also balance everything else I'm keeping really nicely. Moving on to Aether Beauty. I'm loving this brand so much. They come out with really cool stuff, and the one that I would keep is the Moonlight palette. This is beautiful. I actually just did a get ready with me with this recently. Well, I don't know how recent by the time this video goes up. I think this video is gonna be a little pre-filmed. Not entirely sure, but that's on my channel as well regardless. It's beautiful. It literally looks like an enchanted lake. It is magical. I love these kind of blue, green, purple vibes. The shimmers are so pretty. The mattes are very blendable, very easy to work with, very soft in texture. I love this palette, and this is definitely the one I could keep if I could only keep one Aether Beauty palette. Moving on to Beauty Bay, this one is very hard for me because I tried two palettes from them for the first time ever last year, and I fell in love with both of them, but the one that I love just a little bit more than the other is my Wilderness palette. I am so obsessed with this. I ranked this so highly in my 2021 palette ranking. This is phenomenal. I love the blue, green, red swampy combo. The shimmers again are so beautiful. They're that very textured kind of chunky shimmer feel. I love it. This is amazing. The mattes blend so lovely for me. I have so much fun playing with this one. And it's 1000% the one that I would keep. I feel like this is just such a good one to have in your arsenal regardless because it has so many beautiful colors. Next up, from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, they're another one I tried for the first time last year, and I've so far fallen in love with all three of the palettes she has come out with, but my number one favorite by far is the Surge palette. Can we just take a moment to talk about this palette? It is so good. This is such a masterpiece of a palette. The pastel row, the vivids, the deep, deep, deep shades, the shimmers, and then the pops of neon. I love how just curated this palette is. There's a row for every color and then another row for every like variation of tone. I love this so much. Her formula blends like a dream. I am so obsessed with this brand, and this palette would absolutely have to become a staple in my life. And this palette would absolutely have to be the one that I kept. Honestly, this is in my top 5 palettes in my whole collection. I love this so much. Moving on to Colourpop. I have a lot of Colourpop palettes that I really enjoy. I actually did do a video recently chatting about my favorite Colourpop products back in December, and all those products that I mentioned were specifically available. The one I'm gonna talk about right now is not available, but it is still my favorite palette Colourpop has ever released. This is the At Forest Sight palette in collaboration with Raw Beauty Kristi. It's just beautiful. Rich jewel tones, a couple beautiful shimmers popped into the mix. I love playing with this. I feel like you can do such beautiful, vivid looks, but you can also do just very warm, kind of cozy, grungy looks with the mustard, with the brown. There's a lot of different things you can do with this palette, and I just love it. I love the rich jewel tones. I'm such a rich jewel tone, grungy color kind of person, and this palette just makes my heart sing. Raw Beauty Kristi killed it with this palette. I love this so much. Next up from Game Beauty, I actually had a really hard time picking because I really like all 4 of my palettes, and I wasn't sure which one I would keep if I had to pick one. And I think I ended up deciding that my favorite one should be the one that I keep. Because not only is it my favorite, but it's also very unique, especially compared to everything else that I'm keeping right now. This is the Harbinger palette. It is beautiful. It is just so kind of deep, spooky kind of tones. The shimmers in here are so pretty. Dawn is such a beautiful duochrome, and Abyss has the most beautiful marbly shift through it. Magical, amazing. I think I would be really happy if this is the one that I kept amongst all the other ones that I'm talking about today. This is a beautiful palette from them. I can't wait to see what they do next. They just launched brushes, and I'm ready to see what they come out with palette-wise, makeup-wise, all the things. Next up from Give Me Glow Cosmetics, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised by this one, but the palette that I am keeping is the Bad Witch Club palette. I am obsessed with this, one of my favorite palettes as well. I think I ranked this number 5 in my ranking my 2021 palettes video. This is beautiful. I love the witchy theme. I love the kind of purple, green, blue combo. I love the pop of coral. Give Me Glow's mattes are so creamy and buttery and easy to blend, and the metallics are so insanely rich and pigmented and amazing, and I love it. It is so good. Next up from Glaminatrix, I have 2 palettes that I love very much from them, but the one that I love just a tiny bit more is my You Beauty palette. I'm a bit sad though because this is a very fragile palette, and my yellow's just gotten smashed too many times through transit and then through me dropping it once, and then I also accidentally completely destroyed the blue shimmer, but there's still enough pigment in there for me to get some good use out of for a while. Good Day is such a beautiful multi-chrome. There are so many good shades. Again, just very rich, deep, delicious, yummy shades. So many beautiful shimmers. I would be so thrilled to keep this one if I could only keep one Glaminatrix palette. I just would not be traveling with this one. That is for darn sure. This one stays safe here. Very gentle. Next up from Kyla, formerly known as Mousse Beauty. This is another one like Game Beauty. I was not sure which one to pick. I almost picked the Van Gogh because that is my favorite color story from them, but I decided in this case that's not the one that I wanted to pick because I'm keeping so many grungy color stories and other aspects. So just thinking a little more logically, the one that I decided to pick is my second favorite, which is the Rococo palette. I think this is beautiful. It is just pastel with like a twist. There's some deeper tones in here too. It's not just your basic pastel palette. I really like their formula. It's very buildable, very blendable, very easy to use, and the shimmers are very wet looking. I think this is a really pretty palette, and I think this color story is fairly unique compared to some of the other things I'm keeping in this video, so that's the main reason I chose this one. But the Van Gogh almost made the cut because I love that color story so much. Next up from Kaleidos, if you've been here before, you know what my #1 favorite is. It is without question my Flower Punk palette. This is currently my favorite palette in my collection aside from my collab palette. This is beautiful, breathtaking, amazing. Just look at it. This color story, we have the grungy chartreusey olives, the dusty pinks, the turquoise. It just does so many good things for me. I love the formula. I love Kaleidos so much, and this palette just makes my heart sing. I absolutely adore this. I didn't even have to question this one when I was picking out my palettes for this video. This was an automatic, have to keep it. Next up from Lethal Cosmetics, I decided to go with my Velvet Dusk palette. I love this palette. I actually got this as a gift around Christmas time in 2020, and I am still so obsessed with it. I just love these deep murky tones with the brighter pops of shimmer. Such a fun combination. It's still one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I think I ranked this number 10 in my 2021 palettes, maybe 11, but it made it up really, really high out of like over 100. This is amazing. I don't think I'm gonna stop loving it anytime soon, and I would be thrilled to keep this one. I would obviously be sad to declutter any of the palettes that I currently have in this scenario, but I would be thrilled to keep this one. Moving on to Lunar Beauty, I decided to go with, it is discontinued, which is sad, but I decided to go with my favorite again, which is the Moonspell palette. Not only is the packaging just such a beautiful decor piece, the insides are amazing. This is one of those palettes that's really hard to show on camera because it's so reflective, so I'm gonna kind of hold it funky. I just love this. We have the purples, we have the kind of grungy neutrals. I love the chartreusey olive blue down here. We have so many cool things going on. I love the mattes, I love the shimmers. It's beautiful, magical, witchy, spooky. I'm obsessed with this, and I would absolutely have to keep this one. This is another one that I didn't even have to question when picking out palettes for this video. This was an easy answer. And honestly, so is the next one. Next is Melt Cosmetics, and again, if you've been here before, you know what this is gonna be. The discontinued but beloved Muerte palette. I love this. I still don't understand why they don't just like re-release this, because so many people still want this one, and for good reason. This color story is magical. We have the deep blues, the deep reds, the turquoise. The Beauty Bay Wilderness palette does have similar tones in that palette. I wouldn't say they're dupes by any means, but if you missed out on that one and you want similar colors in the same palette, you could look at that Wilderness one I mentioned earlier. But my goodness, I love this one. This is for sure still in my top 5 out of all of my palettes. This is amazing. I love the different tones in here. It's so dark and rich and just absolutely wonderful. I have so much fun when I play with this palette. It is hands down one of my favorite palettes in my whole collection, and absolutely my favorite palette from Melt, definitely my must keep. Moving on to Menagerie, the one that I decided to keep is the Whale Song palette. This is my favorite palette from them, and just one that I feel like I would have to keep around. I can't see myself ever decluttering this unless the formula just goes bad on me. I love the deep blues. I love the weird kind of greeny shades. The shimmers are so rich. This will stain your eyes. I don't really mind because I'm pretty much always wearing a different eyeshadow look almost every day anyway. But if you're someone who likes to wear makeup once and then not wear it for a couple days, you might have some stainage. But I love this palette. I think this one is getting discontinued. I could be wrong, but I think it might be, unfortunately. This is definitely the one that I would keep though. I love having this one. It brings me a lot of joy. Definitely keeping this one kicking around. I mean, obviously I'm keeping all the palettes I currently have kicking around for at least a while because I just did my declutter series, but you know, my pile is getting a little too big here. Moving on to Nomad Cosmetics. We are getting through the alphabet. We're actually getting to the last little portion here. I have a lot of Nomad palettes that I really enjoy, but my number one favorite and the one that I would absolutely have to keep, I would be fighting if I had to give this one up. This is my Nomad Cosmetics Iceland palette. I love this one. It's a beautiful kind of fire ice combo. We have the warmth and the cool tones. I love the shimmers. They're so twinkly and magical. Hands down my favorite Nomad palette. For the longest time, the Tokyo was my favorite one, but this one just stole my heart last year when it released. I have so much fun with this. I think it's so versatile and so unique, and I think it is a lot of fun to play with. Moving on to Odin's Eye. This is another one that was pretty difficult because I love so many of my Odin's Eye palettes. I mean, I love all of my Odin's Eye palettes, but so many of them I consider favorites. But my absolute favorite one with such a beautiful color story is the one in collaboration with my friend Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. This is the Giant Wolves palette, and it is amazing. It was limited edition and it did sell out, and I'm so happy for her that she did such a successful launch. This is beautiful. Again, those deep grungy tones that I live for. The multi-chrome down here is breathtaking. Such a beautiful matte to shimmer ratio. I love the color combinations you can do with this. It is such a good palette, and this is definitely the one that I would have to keep if all of my Odin's Eye ones had to go except for one. Moving on to Pinky Rose Cosmetics. You know, they have not really piqued my interest really at all ever since they launched the Trilogy palette a few years ago, and I still really love that trilogy. But my favorite of the three, and the one that I would have to keep, would have to be my Exotic Peacock. I still love this one. I still think it's a wonderful palette. It's just a really fun kind of blue, purple, green vibe. I like the pop of like weird chartreusey yellow. Such a fun combination of colors, and this palette makes me really happy. It's not my favorite formula out of all of these. I've definitely discovered better things over time, but this does still hold up pretty nicely. I think the mattes still blend out really well. The shimmers are really pretty, and this is the one that I would definitely keep if I could only keep one of my Pinky Rose palettes. Moving on to Shroud Cosmetics. This is obviously not even a debate. The one that I would keep is absolutely my collab palette with Shroud, the Batty Bean X Shroud It's Frickin' Bats palette. I love this with my whole entire being. I use this constantly. If I ever go out of town, this comes with me no matter what. I use this on my off days if I'm just wanting to do something quick for myself before work or something and I'm not filming it. I still film with this very often. I love my palette. I'm so proud of it. Obviously, it's my favorite palette in my whole collection. This would probably be the one if I could only keep one palette in general because I'm just so in love with my palette. I love it so much. At this moment that I'm filming, it just sold out again, but it's gonna be restocking soon. So it may have already restocked by the time this video goes up, that or it's happening very soon. She is gonna just continue to restock this until basically there's no demand for it anymore. So it will be coming back, don't you worry. I love this one. I'm so proud of this. Just a couple more left. Next is Spoiled Cosmetics. I just received 2 palettes from them maybe 4 weeks ago at this point, so they're in this video because of that reason. And the one that I would keep out of the 2 that I just got is probably my Poison Bottle palette. I debated not this one because the packaging is not really my thing. It's huge. It's bulky, the magnet on the top doesn't really work that great, but I do like the colors on the inside. There are 2 pressed glitters, which isn't my favorite thing in a palette. As you notice, I don't think I had a pressed glitter in any of the other ones I talked about today, but I do like the colors that are in here. Again, it has those richer tones, it has kind of the green-purple combo. I think this one's cute, and I am more attracted to this one than the other one that I have. It's called the Hell on Wheels. I do like that one, don't get me wrong, but this one does appeal to me more as far as the color story goes. Next up from Sugarpill, I have quite a few Sugarpill palettes and I love them so much, but my absolute favorite one and the must keep is the Black Capsule palette. I adore this. Obviously, I feel like I don't need to say that before every palette, but here we are. Again, it's the dark, the grungy, the spooky tones. I love this palette. The shimmers are so pretty. I really like the combination of colors you can do. You can tell that I'm just so attracted to this kind of a color story and I'm not even mad. These are my kinds of tones. I love it so much. It makes me very happy and it's a lot of fun to play with. This is definitely the one that I would keep. However, I will say I debated picking my Fun Size 2 because that's just a beautiful array of funky colored mattes and I love that one as well. And finally, last but not least, I am on Unearthly Cosmetics, formerly known as Alien Cosmetics, and the palette that I would keep from them is my Not Normal palette. I love this one. Again, it is absolutely beautiful. I call this one my Beetlejuice palette because we have the purple green combo, we got the swampy yellows, we got the grungy browns. This is a lot of fun to play with. I love how beautiful the shimmers are. This duochrome up here is breathtaking. The mattes are a lot of fun to work with. This is definitely the one that I would keep from Unearthly Cosmetics. All right, so that is it. That is my video chatting about which palettes I would keep if I could only keep one palette from each brand. I would love to hear your thoughts. Did any of my decisions surprise you? I feel like it was probably pretty predictable if you know me well. I would love to know your thoughts on these palettes. Do you have any of these? Do you want any of them? I would love to know which palettes in your collection you would keep if you could only keep one from each brand. If you made it to the end of this video, which emoji do I want you to leave? Let's just stay on theme. If you could only use 5 more emojis for the rest of your life, which 5 would you keep? Leave them down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can hop over to my other socials. You can follow me there. You can join the Batty Bean fam. I am Batty Bean on everything. I post every day on Instagram and I'm pretty active on TikTok and Twitter as well. And if you want, you can subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I post most days over here. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.